Hi there, John Moore here, and I am a shamanic teacher and practitioner in the state of Maine in the US. And today I want to talk to you about spiritual energy, which is a rather large topic. And so I won't be able to get into hopefully too excruciating a detail, but I want to cover some of the basics and give you a bit of an understanding about spiritual energy because it's something that people mention a lot, right? People will talk about vibrations or energy or power or all of these things. And what do we mean by that? Okay. So, in the model of the multiverse that I work in, um, everything is energy, and uh, this is what quantum physics has shown us, right? This is what physics. Everything is energy, and some energy to us becomes solid objects, right? Becomes solid objects that we can touch, that we can see, whatever. And there are things that we can see that are not solid. We can see sunlight, for example, when it's reflected off of things. And in fact, everything we're experiencing through some form of energy. The sound that you're hearing is, energy waves in the air, and the visuals that you're perceiving through your sense organs, through your eyes, and you know that is coming from light waves that are bouncing off of things and hitting the back of your retinas. And then your beautiful consciousness takes that information and creates a subjective experience out of that. You experience me talking to you when in fact you're not seeing me talking to you. You're experiencing a bunch of light waves and a bunch of sound waves. So everything out here is quantum soup. It's just a big field of energy, and energy of all kinds. Energy is just the ability, in the physics terms, it's the ability to do work, right? And so there are many different types of energy. Speaking physically, we have kinetic energy. If I throw a ball, right? I put kinetic energy into that ball and it flies, right? It's the energy of motion. We have electrical energy. We have electromagnetic energy, like light, like X-rays, that sort of thing. Physically, we have the energy that we get from food, air, and water, and that gives us the ability to for our bodies to function, to move around. And there, um, whole processes involved with digestion and cellular respiration and all, the mitochondria and all of that physical stuff. For somebody who is shamanic, for a shamanic person or somebody who's particularly clairvoyant or that sort of thing, we actually view the physical as one layer either underneath or on top of many, many different layers of reality. And these layers go from the most dense or gross layer, which is physical, to greater and greater, 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 subtler levels of reality. Okay. And so as we have this physical body, then one step or a smaller step away towards the more subtle, we have an energy or etheric body. This is where our chakras are. If you practice yoga or know anything about the chakras, this is where our meridians and our energy centers are for traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, acupressure, that sort of thing. Okay, so they're manipulating these energy pathways, which many times are strongly associated with nerves and that sort of thing. Um, but not all of them are. But not all of them. Not all of the meridians or the that sort of thing follow identically neural pathways. It's close. There are some correlates there. Okay. So that is the energy or etheric body. And the energy body, the etheric body, we call it a body, but it's really just a part of us, is a field of spiritual energy. And I'm going to get into spiritual energy, the sort of some more specifics about spiritual energy in a second. But um, there are many organs, channels. It's very, very complex. The energy body is super complex, right? And there are many different layers to it. So we have a layer that is very close to the body and mimics the body, and in fact moves with the body. And that is, some people call that the etheric double, because it's basically our overlapping etheric energy. And some people can perceive etheric energy. Some people can see it who have some level of clairvoyance. You can also learn to perceive this. Many people can feel it. If you've ever felt a vibe coming off of somebody when they walked in the room, who hasn't? Um, Frequently you're perceiving that energy field. Okay. So close to the body, we have this etheric double. It is roughly the shape of the body, usually an inch or two around the body. And this inside this etheric double are most of your energy channels, most of the things that are, this is a less subtle part of the energy body. More subtle part of the energy body is the aura that many people refer to, is this energy field that can extend quite a distance, can extend 20, 30 feet in distance. um, why is why do we care, right? Why do we care? Well, the energy body is so close to the physical body and mimics it that they actually interpenetrate um, and affect one another, right? And so our when somebody works on us with Reiki or shamanic healing or acupuncture or something, they're affecting the physical by changing something in the energy body. Okay. And you can, movement and that sort of thing can affect the energy, does affect the energy body. This is why Tai Chi and Qigong and yoga, exercises like that aren't just physical. They affect the energy body, they affect our spiritual self as well. So as we get more subtle, and we can like light, right? So we divide light into various colors on the spectrum. We can divide energy into uh one way of looking at that is gross to subtle. So gross would be physical matter. It's still a form of energy. More subtle would be the etheric energy. The more subtle than that is what we call the astral, or the astral body, which is not as closely tied to the physical body and can be shaped by mental activity, emotion, that sort of thing. It's not necessarily as readily perceived as the etheric body, because the etheric body is so close to the physical that people who are sensitive to that can often see that, right? Or people who have some level of clairvoyance. When people see auras, this is what they're seeing. But the astral body is the body that can separate from the physical body. So part of it, part of our consciousness, separates out and travels. This astral projection, shamanic journeying, out of body experiences. Lots of different terminology for that. Okay. And both the astral and the etheric bodies can be injured, can get sick, that can be reflected in the physical, right? Sometimes when we get sick physically and we can't find a really good cause for that, the problem could be at a different layer, a different level. Okay, and we can get blockages in our energy system. What happens with the astral body, or I'll call it, in this case, I'll refer to it as the soul body, that body can be fractured by trauma, and the shamanic term for the result of that can be what we call soul loss, meaning that a fractured part of us gets lost. You need help from a shamanic healer in order to help restore that part of your lost. You don't have a lost soul. Your entire soul isn't lost, but a part, an essence, and some small aspect of yourself gets lost. This causes all kinds of problems, physical problems, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, PTSD, dissociation, a feeling of being disconnected from yourself, disconnected from the world, disconnected from your loved ones, often results from soul loss. Okay. Most frequently, I will see symptoms of PTSD with people who come to me with soul loss issues. So that is something to watch out for as well. So let's talk about energy in a really sort of generic sense, but also the one of the things that I like to do when I look at any topic related to spirituality is I look at what many different cultures have in common. So, for example, shamanism is something that is cross-cultural. We have, hundreds of shamanic cultures documented, not just from prehistory to historic shamans to indigenous shamans to people who are shamans today. This is a practice that is global and cross-cultural. Okay, so the idea of spiritual energy is also global and cross-cultural. And one example of that I will use is the strong association with spiritual energy and breath. Okay, so in there are terms in many different languages and many different cultures for the spiritual energy that comes from breath or breath work or specific ways of breathing. So in yoga, for example, we have pranayama, right? We have prana being this breath energy. In Chinese, we have qi, and Japanese ki. In in Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, we have the ruach, and the ruach, one way to translate that term is into breath energy. In Old Norse mysticism and magic, we have the ond, which is the spirit-filled breath, which is related to this spiritual energy called Megan. And so there is this breath energy that we see in lots of different. There are breathing exercises from Hawaiian culture. There are breathing exercises. So all of these people realize that from different cultures and different times all over the world, they realized that they could breathe in certain ways and generate not just physical energy, but spiritual energy. And why do we care about generating spiritual energy? Well, for health, for one reason. So because we have that overlap with our energy body and our physical body. However, we also want to do things, right? So spirituality, if you come from a Western Abrahamic religious perspective, spirituality is often about the rewards you get when you die, right? When you go to heaven, you get your reward, and that's kind of it. And I realize that's a huge simplification of thousands of years of many different beliefs, but that's sort of a main thrust. But in other times, spirituality was often very what we call tactical, and it can be still today, right? So there's the strategic, the long term goal. What happens to me after I die? But there's also a very strategic method of how do I live? How do I heal? How do I accomplish things? How do I ensure the hunt? How do I find out the best time to plant crops? How do, all of these things that were important to survival were tied in very closely to spirituality. And there, we have stories of, the Druids, when the Celts went into battle with the Romans, the Druids would, stand chanting battle chants to give the Celts better fighting ability. So there are lots and lots of stories about spirituality being used for very down to earth practical reasons. And the same is true, when we generate spiritual energy for ourselves, we can do it for healing, but we can also do it to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. That is, one term for that is magic, right? There are lots of different terms for that. Um, but magic includes channeling energy towards a goal, towards accomplishing change in accordance with will. And so a lot of spiritual religious practices throughout the ages into prehistory were very magically oriented. And if you come from a specific belief system, you might say, well, magic is from the devil or, whatever. And I won't argue, I won't argue with extremist points like that. But, there was and still is a lot of, Christian magic and Jewish magic and Islamic magic. And so, um, you know, just read your history on that. But anytime you're praying for intercession with something in the real world, in the 3D, I say real world, the 3D ordinary reality, that's an act of magic. You're trying to use spiritual techniques to um, cause change in accordance with will. That's that's magic. Um, so energy, we have all of these different forms of energy in our world, right? We've got chemical energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, electromagnetic energy. And one of the things that we know is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. Same thing with matter. Matter and energy are interchangeable. It can only be transformed from one thing to another. So, for example, I can use mechanical energy. I could, crank a generator and transform that mechanical energy. So I'm transforming food into chemical energy, and then my muscles are turning that chemical energy into mechanical or kinetic energy. That kinetic energy is turning, a generator probably with, not probably, some magnets with some coils of wire, and generating electrical energy, right? So I'm transforming, one form of energy into another, into another, into another. We do this all day long, every day, nonstop. We don't even think about it. Okay. And so there are many, many different forms of spiritual energy that we can draw. And we can draw on the energy of the earth, the energy of the elements, the energy of the stars and the sun. We can draw on the energy from prayer to spirits. We can draw on our own breath energy. Okay, we can draw up energy from our environment. We even know that the supposed vacuum of space contains a tremendous amount of energy, right? There is nothing, there is nothing that is not energy that doesn't contain a tremendous amount of energy in any reality that we know of. So when we draw it in, when we transform it, we're just working with energy, and it can come from lots and lots of different sources. Um, and it's as unlimited as you might imagine. We're not actually creating it. It's already created. We are just transforming it from one thing into another. So that is a basic overview of spiritual energy. I hope that's helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I do have a membership as well, and from time to time I release members only videos and chats and things like that. So with that, I will leave you, and I will talk to you very, very soon.